Live from the Balls Visual Radio Studios, this is the Blades on Balls show. And now, here's your host, the voice of South African rugby himself, Hugh Bladen. Hugh, it's over to you.
It's been fantastic. The weather's been incredible. I played golf on last Thursday. I played with Clive Rice and Nick Henning at Parkview. The Ex-Pros had a golf day, Sydney. We'll talk about the Ex-Pros because they're a soccer thing. My microphone's just been poked into my lips.
I think they're all sports.
Morning.
Morning.
They're all sportsmen. They're all great. They're great, and they're great guys. They're all mostly, well, the ex-pros consists of the ex-soccer players, and they're really great. And I started telling you that I played golf with them because the weather has just been absolutely incredible. And, you know, Sydney's just arrived. I have to tell you, you guys, you know, you think, okay, we go down every week, you catch a plane, you come back, you stay in hotels and that sort of thing. Saturday, I'm on my way to OR Tambo. There's a 4-car pile-up at the between London Road and the Modderfontein Road.
Yes.
So I'm stuck in the traffic. Okay, and I'm due to catch a 10 to 13:50 plane to Durban, and it's now 12:15. Okay, I'm stuck in the traffic, and eventually I phoned Owen and Kamani and I said, "Where are you?" And we worked out that we were within about 150 meters of one another. Yeah. Eventually, I got through the point where the prang was. Amazing how people still have to slow down and look at prangs.
Rubbernecking, yeah.
Rubbernecking.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's a word I hear every morning on 702 radio.
Thank God, yeah, no, that's crazy. Thank God I printed out my boarding pass. Mwah!
Wow, I'm impressed.
Modern technology. I tell you, I had my boarding pass. Owen didn't have his boarding pass. So now we're on the phone to one another, and Owen phones a young lady, Monica Matthew, who does our travel at Supersport, and says, "I think we're going to miss the plane." I get through where the prang is, and I reckon I'm going to make it because I have a company that meets me at the airport. They're very good. They're a car, and they meet me at the airport, and then now I'm in gate D8, which is the highest, the furthest gate on the ground floor. The furthest gate, D8, it's like 150 meters away, and I look and I can see there's still manning the desk, but there's nobody there.
Hold the phone. Hold the plane.
Hold the plane. We'll tell that story later. I'm coming. I'm coming.
Then they got that T-shirt.
God, I was the last passenger to board the plane. It's like a strain. And up yesterday morning, 4:20 to catch the 6:30 plane to. I'll tell you about
Simon,
last
sorry, have
night.
you got tissues here? I just want to wipe the tears from my eyes. Shame, Flacey. No, great.
Sydney.
It's not an easy life, doing commentaries.
Stop moaning, Blaine.
No, I'm not moaning. I'm just saying that was my weekend. You know, I mean, it's sort of like quite stressful.
Why did you fly back so early yesterday?
No, because I think a lot of the guys say that they want to come back early, so that they by 8:30 they're back with their families. And I must say, it was a bit of a schlep to get up, although I got to bed. I find when you do a 7 o'clock game, it finishes at 9 o'clock, that my mind is so active and so, I'm so sort of G'd up that I battled. So I got to sleep probably at about 1:45.
Well, I've witnessed that. I mean, Hughie's come to our suite after a game at Ellis Park, and you'll see he's there immediately after. And he's still like shaking from it, it must be quite a nerve-wracking thing, Blazy.
No, the thing is, I think it's intense concentration, and you're concentrating intently, and then suddenly, you're off the air and you're relaxed, and it's from that intense concentration to the relaxation, and you get the wobbles. There are two areas. One is, I remember seeing Barry Richards after he had been batting and I happened to be around the change room area, and he came and said hello. And he was not out, of course. Barry Richards hardly ever got out, but he was, and his hands were shaking, you know. And the other thing, I'll never forget David O'Sullivan being were you not there at Centurion, at Supersport Park?
Very possible.
In Centurion, David O'Sullivan jumped out of an aircraft, piggybacking on a guy, you know, to parachute out of the aircraft to land on the ground. And when they came down and they whoop, and they hit the ground. They went whoop and bah, and he came into the president's suite with grass burns all over his elbows and everything. And the waiter said, "Can I get you something to drink?" And he said, "I'd love a Coke." And he got the Coke and he poured it down his front. I mean, he was so G'd up. He was shaking like this, and the whole Coke sort of went down his front.
Well, that's the same as you coming into our suite after the game. You have a Coke or a lemonade straight away.
No, but I don't pour it down my front. Got a dreadful question for you today. All my questions over the weeks have been sitters, really, terribly easy to look up and that sort of thing. And I've got my 1990 Currie Cup final commentary page here, which I'll show you a little later. In 1990, the Northern Transvaal, they weren't the Bulls in those days, Northern Transvaal ran onto the field. And in running onto the field, one of the Northern Transvaalers did his Achilles heel, Achilles tendon.
That, yes.
He did his Achilles tendon. I think I don't know, there was either water or there was sort of like a cardboard strip, and he stood on the side of the cardboard strip, I think, and he did his Achilles heel tendon, and suddenly the Northern Transvaalers had to they pulled a reserve off and the whole thing. That player who pulled his Achilles tendon as he was running onto the field and never got onto the field, who was his dad?
Wow.
Gee.
Oh, no, that's a trick one.
Well, you know,
you said it's going to be a trick question.
Who was his dad? His dad was a very well-known rugby. I'm giving you a clue already. His dad was a very well-known rugby player. I know that Gary Spate will probably get
Late,
it.
Darren. Late.
Late. Gary Late. Gary Late. Did you call me Darren?
Did you call him Gary Late?
Yeah, Spate. There's a Gary Late who comes on. This is the Maz. Can they see this? Oh no, I'm not going to show you because it gives it away on my team sheets here.
I'm cribbing you guys. I'll
You're
give you a clue
cribbing.
later. Yeah.
Yeah, 1990. Remember that Tony Watson try when Tony Watson went herring down the ring and the ring. I'll get it right in a moment. Come.
Who's
Here,
ring?
Duncan. Good morning, Mr. Blades and Sid. Hope it's going to be another awesome show this morning, making every Monday awesome. Duncan Bettridge. I fancy these folks. This mutual admiration.
Read the top
society.
tweet there, Blades. I hope you guys are going to talk about this today.
Oh, my God. What was your most boring rugby game this weekend? I vouch all the SA games with Stormers winning the snooze fest.
Well,
Well, let me tell you that, and his name escapes me just for the moment, that the chairman, the president of Natal Rugby came down the stairs as John van Rensburg and I we were walking out of the media centre going back to our car, and he came down the stairs and he said, "What a dreadful game of rugby."
You're talking a Sharks game.
Oh.
Yeah. There's a few things I'd like to ask you because of your knowledge of the game, but we'll get to that later. And I mean, Lambie, I can't believe what he did right at the end of that game. I mean, he kicked the ball out, 18-16, and he kicked the ball out into touch. And
It was almost a capitulation.
you did commentary on that, yeah?
Yeah. It was almost as if he'd sort of said, "Okay, guys, well, that's it.
Let's get the bonus point and the hell with it." But you know
we've
what?
got no chance of winning this game.
But that, to me, I'm sorry, and you're supposed to be no experience, and that to kick out at the end of the game, give them possession, get the line up because they were superior in the line. That's not the scrums; they were pathetic in the scrums, the Bulls. wow, I couldn't believe it. The Sharks were all over them in the scrums, Blades.
They were.
Yeah, big time. And then to kick it out, give possession, end the game.
Yeah.
18-16. You know.
No, it was very strange. The other thing is, you know, they put new grass down on Kings Park, and I must say, before the game, I mean, it looked absolutely magnificent. But I cannot believe that, and there was a fair amount of dew. You know, when we came out, our cars there was, what do you call it, condensation, and our cars were wet and that type of thing. But the guys were trying to catch that ball. It was slipping all over the place. All over the place. And I don't know whether you saw the Chiefs Crusaders game. Maybe you did, Sam. But because I didn't. I just saw a little bit of it, and I was in a meeting in Pretoria, and one of the guys had watched quite a lot of the Chiefs Crusaders game, and he said, what a fantastic game of rugby and what a fantastic spectacle. And then one's got to say, well, the Reds Stormers game, by all accounts, was pretty boring.
Well, definitely. The Reds, you know, I find them a very exciting side, and I love the way they play rugby, the Reds. But they just, even against the Sharks the week before, I really thought the Sharks had no chance, but then, was it the Sharks the week before? The Reds the Sharks beat them.
Yeah.
But the Reds, the way that...
No, the Sharks didn't beat them. They beat they were overseas last week. They beat the Rebels. No, they beat the Force.
The Stormers lost to the Rebels.
And the
Sharks
beat the Force.
The week before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gary Leitch is on the line already. Thanks for watching and listening, Gary. You're a star. Tough question today. I told you it was the outside centre that went down, trying to remember his name. You're right. It was the outside centre who went down. I don't want to know his name. I want to know who his dad was. But if you get his name, you will probably... I'm going back a little bit. So this is sort of to Sid's era.
1990.
No. Who his dad was.
Okay, the dad, yeah.
The dad was Sid's era.
So early 30s.
Nice one, Simon. Jeez, you got me here, Blaze. I don't even know.
Well, you don't know.
Okay, don't get clever now. Okay.
Nasbuurter's uncle, the player in question, was his cousin Hendrik Creer. Ryan Ludik. Ryan, you're so on the track. You and Gary are both so on the track. Hendrik Creer was involved in the situation. He wasn't the guy that went down, but he was involved in some way. Tell me how Hendrik Creer was involved. He is Nasbuurter's cousin. Now he's been living in Ireland for some considerable years, coaching rugby in Ireland. Tell me, Peter Bodkin, what your most boring game of the weekend was. Because if I say it was the Sharks Bulls, somebody will say I'm biased against the Sharks. If I say it's the Stormers Reds, somebody will say I'm biased against the Stormers. And what we want to do, Sydney, is I want to have a look at the fixtures a little later on. Two things. We want to look at the Springbok squad, which I should have had it. We can possibly pull that up on SA Rugby, the SA Rugby website, because again they've got these dreadful injury problems, and there's next weekend, and then the following weekend South Africa play a Test match.
Yes.
So there's not so much time left.
Okay. May I ask who's doing commentary of that game, Blades? Do you know?
Yeah.
Isn't that a double header that day?
I've got the main game.
You're there. Cool.
Samoa against Italy.
And it's Scotland against
South Africa.
Scotland.
Well, there's two double headers. There's a double header in Durban next weekend and a double header the following weekend at the Mbombela Stadium in Nelspruit. And I know quite a few people who seem to be going to that Nelspruit game. It was being advertised on the radio, and then sort of, this is terrific. We're going to pick our Springbok side. Those are the Tendai Mtawarira, Trevor Nyakani, Yanni du Plessis. Well, I think, my opinion, who's your front row?
Who, talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, hang on, I've got to go into concentration mode here, Hughie. I mean, hit me with trick questions here. Well, you know, definitely. Can we just carry on talking and then I'll just have a look at the names and...
Okay, I see Bismarck du Plessis' name is there, and they keep saying Bismarck's going to play, Bismarck's going to play, Bismarck's going to play, but he is not playing. So that's a problem. Bismarck, I don't think, can make the test side for 2 weeks' time, because, I mean, he's hardly played this season. I'll tell you a name just before Bismarck, who would be a strong contender for me, for captain of that side, is Adrian Strauss. He's played.
Yes.
I think he's played so well. I think, you know, Chile Boy is also.
Boy's playing well.
He's playing well. Ibn
Yes.
Etzebeth's got to be a certainty.
Yeah. Well, the locks, I mean, you know, we're not short of locks, definitely.
Well,
not.
you can't play Ibn Etzebeth and Jean-Ray Creer. No, you can. You can't play Ibn Etzebeth basically and Flip van der Merwe in the same lock combination. You've got to play probably Ibn Etzebeth and Jean-Ray Creer. Mind you, didn't Peter Steph du Toit have a great game on Saturday?
He's a youngster. I mean, he's got potential, that man, eh? Wow.
Just
But,
20
you know,
years old.
Hughie, I was just going through a few things also, and I mean, you look at Flip van der Merwe. He's been cited for, he's been given an off-field yellow card. I saw that
For
on,
what?
for some foul
Something
play.
on Saturday. I
Yeah,
know.
and I
I
have
know that Björn Besson has. But he got an on-field yellow card.
But he's got an off-field red card now.
Has he been banned?
Well, apparently, yeah.
Has he got a suspension?
Off-field red card, and one of the Reds players as well, I think, Samo, also. I've never heard of that off-field. That's, you know, off-field sighting, yes. I mean,
No, what happens is when you say yellow card, you have a match commissioner who will go afterwards if he thinks something's happened. He will go into the outside broadcast van and he will have a look at an incident that he thinks there might have been a problem on, and he can then say, right, I'm going to cite that player, and he will get a problem. The player will have a problem if he's found guilty. So
But-
he can get a suspension.
Son definitely guilty. And oh God, you're talking about red cards now. You see the English hookers. You won't be going on tour with Australia with the Lions
Well,
because swearing at the ref.
but you know, I mean, when you swear at the referee and you then say, well, I wasn't swearing at you, I was swearing at my opposition hooker or whatever.
But they have,
You know, the referee knows. The referee knows if the guy's swearing at you or swearing at his
But
opposition number. But they are very strict, and I agree with it. You know, I was talking to Alistair Tom in the gym this morning. Do you
Yes.
remember Alistair
Yeah,
Tom?
wondrous.
Played flank for Western Province and for Transvaal. And then Western Province again was down in Durban for a while. I think he's a Wynberg old boy, played for Villagers.
well, he was a
and
Wanderers
played for
boy with
Wanderers,
us, yeah,
yes.
yeah. But funny enough, while
Alistair
you're on
Tom.
Wanderers, I went to watch Wanderers on Saturday.
Ah,
Yeah, they played Diggers. And what a turnaround! I mean, club rugby was strong in our day, and the Diggers were one of the strongest.
7 Springboks in their team.
Wow, yeah. And Wanderers thumped them 63-3.
You lie.
And who was there was Kevin de Klerk, ex-Diggers player. He actually witnessed it. And,
Oh, well, that's good of Kevin.
Yeah, it was lovely. seeing-
63-3.
Yeah,
Wanderers against Diggers.
yes. Yeah,
Wanderers, we played against Diggers. They had
wow. I mean,
Saki Salmon,
yes,
Robbie Barnard,
yes,
Kevin de Klerk,
yes. Sultan.
Saki de Klerk, Piet Greylen, David de Villiers, Yanni Barnard. Those were the 7 Springboks. And then Peter Cranier became a Springbok later. So there were 8. And I mean, the rest of them played for Transvaal anyway.
Exactly, yeah.
Mind you, I don't think they beat us 63-3.
Never.
But they gave us
we
a
beat
bit
them
of
the
a
one time. I'll
tidy.
never forget that game, yeah.
We beat them at Wanderers.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
1965.
Is that the year?
Uh-huh.
Jeez. No, I think it was after that because,
Do you think so?
yeah, because they told me.
65, you were in New Zealand.
Yes. They-
Okay, it might have been later. It would have been 69 then.
Yeah, this is very interesting. I'm moving a bit closer to you so I can see the screen there.
Si, can you just give us back to our tweets, please? Because we have a winner. We have a winner, Vili Divanacha. Lofty Nell.
Oh, his son, Peter.
Peter.
Okay.
Peter Nell and Ryan Ludick, Naspoort's uncle. The player in question was cousin Hendrik Creer. What happened was that Peter Nell did his Achilles and Hendrik Creer was on the bench. And Hendrik Creer, who quite frankly was not really a centre, he was more of a wing fullback. Hendrik Creer came into the side, ran onto the field. Here are my notes on the game. I don't know whether they can see that. You can see here, Nell crossed out and Hendrik Creer is filled in there right in the first moment.
Well done, Vili. Gosh, yeah, I remember it, but I couldn't remember the name.
And Lofty Nell played in a couple of tests with Sid.
Yeah.
He was a great guy too.
Magic.
Eh?
What a player. God.
I remember pushing a ball guard through Cape Town.
What? Oh, that's a motor car.
Yeah.
Did you know that, Simon? Huh?
We had gone out. Lofty Nell and Yanni Barnard and I had gone. You were such a goody. You weren't in the party.
That's me.
And we went somewhere and this ball guard broke down. You remember an old ball guard motor car?
That's what Simon doesn't.
There was a motor car called a ball guard.
Are you sure?
And yes, man. And it broke down, and there was Loft. I've got a feeling it might have broken down in District 6. It wasn't the best place in those days to break down. And Lofty and I, Yanni steering and Lofty and I pushing this ball guard to try and get it. Thank God it did start.
Actually,
That was Lofty Nell. Played for Western Transvaal, played for Transvaal, played for South Africa, both flank and number 8.
Well, Lofty went 1965 on that tour to Australasia.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Lofty Nell.
Yes.
Can you drag up the Haas Skuman?
Rugby, Gary and
No, this little side bit was Lofty Nell. No, here for our viewers again. Was Lofty Nell on that 1965 Springbok tour to Australasia? I don't think so. Sid thinks so. And he was on the tour.
Put money, guys. Put money. Definitely.
I know. Hold on. I'm trying to think. There was Jan Ellis, Haas Skuman.
Yes.
Andrew
Anderson.
Janssen.
Known as Tex.
Tommy Bedford, Doug Hopwood, and maybe
Lofty
Lofty
Nell.
Nell was on the tour. Oh, I don't know.
I'm overtaking him with his
I
good memory.
don't know. Just look up G. Enslin. Vili Divanacha. Boots and Bits.
Guys,
No, Sports Jock, retweet. No, sorry, South African Rugby, Lofty Nell.
oh, definitely, because him and Lofty and I went to a school together. You know, when you're on these long tours, which is over 4 months, eh?
Yeah.
And Lofty and I went to a school together and talking to the kids.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay, I rest my case
Apologise,
then.
okay,
I
thank you.
apologize.
Thank you.
I apologize. We were going to have a look at the weekend's fixtures and the weekend's games. Well done to the Bulls. Sharks a little bit unlucky.
No
The
doubt.
Sharks annihilated that Bulls scrum. Hey?
You know
But by the same token, the Sharks lineouts was shocking.
but the Bulls are very strong in that department. I
And
mean,
what about the Stormers, Simon?
Such a snooze fest.
yeah,
That game.
you
A
know,
snooze fest.
Yeah. But I was wondering, while you guys were chatting about it earlier, if one team doesn't play a dynamic brand of rugby. Because I don't think the Stormers play a fantastic... I don't think they play an
No,
exciting...
very defensive.
Yeah, very defensive. I don't think they play an exciting brand of rugby. Then you get the Reds, who come and play the... Does it affect the Reds' game
Oh, sure it would do.
when... So you end up with a
If
boring...
one side,
yeah.
one side is very negative and they line flat, shallow, and well, we've always known the Stormers have a great defensive system. But the one thing the Stormers don't do is they're not that adventurous on attack, and so when you look okay, that ball. You know that the new balls have got sort of those pimples on them, which is supposed to make them a little bit tacky when they get damp. When they get really wet, they're as slippery as the old leather ball.
Leather ball.
They get, because I've tried it. I mean, the Springboks have practice where they have buckets of water and they dunk the balls into the water when they go overseas, so that they, obviously they practice handling the wet ball. But gee, it looked, I mean, the ball was slipping out all over the place.
Yeah, no. Look, it can't be easy. I mean, handling. We've experienced that on wet games, and it's not, but then becomes a kicking game. But I just, the Sharks scored a great try, McLeod. It was a great try, and the Bulls, it's just Mornay Steyn.
Yeah.
6 penalties. And that's what gets me. When you score a try and you still lose the game, eh? I'd like to speak to Johnny Kaplan. And I want high tackles. Did you hear what? I just tuned in the last sort of couple of minutes of Boots and All on Thursday. And I love what Owen Kamani says. To everybody out there, let's make this weekend hug a referee.
Hug a referee.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it funny, because I was on as I got off the plane yesterday morning, some guy said to me, what did you think of the referee? The referee being Jonathan Kaplan, and that the referee had come into a bit of criticism from, not publicly, but an official of the Sharks Rugby Union. And I said to the guy, well, first of all, Jonathan's done 67 test matches. Secondly, he's done about 100 Super Rugby matches. So I must be critical of Jonathan Kaplan.
But you can be.
I said, no, the other thing is, I said, how often does a winning team criticize the referee?
Not often.
Very, well, not often. I don't think I've ever heard them.
Oh, but Blades, I just saw so many high tackles. It's not even tackles anymore. They run into each other. I don't know if you saw the one lock. It was, I think Brumbies. Who did the Brumbies play?
They played the Waratahs, didn't they?
No, Brumbies Blues.
Yeah.
One of the players got hit so hard, he was like a boxer that had been knocked out. He couldn't stand up. His legs just wobbled. He was man down.
But you've done that.
I've been there.
You wanted to hit me once,
No.
Rustenburg.
Yeah, but-
You went down. When you leapt up, you took a swing at me.
Yeah, because I didn't know what day it was. So, because,
And also, don't you remember playing against Rechet Aram van Tonda?
Jeez,
Give you the inside gap and then stick his arm out.
West Rand.
I can remember actually, heaving in the car park after a couple of rugby matches where you'd run into the police guys and, the ball would be at the second centre and suddenly you get flattened. And then Rechet Aram van Tonda would leave you the inside gap and you'd go on a cartwheel on a field that had no grass in it. Remember Arias? There was so much dust, the scrum half couldn't see the ball.
The fields today are wonderful compared to what we played on.
There's a counter question. I've just seen a quick tweet there. And a counter question: how many tests did he play, and against who did he make his debut?
Who?
Oh, Lofty.
God, he played a few. I mean, he played the last two in 1970 with us against the All Blacks.
No. He played in '65. Did he play in a test match?
Yes.
Did he play in a
sure
test
he
in
did.
'65?
I'm sure. Anyway, we can look it up. I mean,
No. That's cheating.
Oh, it's just a question. Sorry.
It's a question. How many tests did Lofty Noel play? I would guess about Sasha's arrived.
Okay,
What a
Sash.
Formula One yesterday, the Monaco Grand Prix. But we'll leave that for Sash.
I think you commentating a Formula One race would be good value.
You think so?
Yeah, 80 laps
Yeah.
Yeah.
80
80
laps.
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
At maximum intensity from Blades.
How would he go?
Difficult, because I once went to a Grand Prix, Kyalami, and after about 5 laps, I didn't know who was leading. Didn't have a clue who was. They should have big well, no, I'm talking
They do
30-something years ago.
They do today. You
They
can see
would
them-
today.
Well, you can see who's in front and
Yes.
second, third, fourth.
Have you been to a Grand Prix?
I went to one where a Citizen sponsored the Grand Prix. And that was the most horrible experience I've ever had, where they had that horrible accident when a marshal actually
Oh,
ran
dear
on-
me,
ran onto
yeah, and the
track
bloomin', and
the car hit him
his fire
in-
extinguisher killed the driver.
Yeah. And then the driver, Tim Clark, went straight on ahead, and he went into a wall, and he got killed as well.
Was it Tim Clark?
It just came to mind now, Tim Clark. I'm sure it was him. It was the most
I don't
hideous
think it was Tim
experience.
Clark.
Tim Clark's a
Sash
golfer.
No,
No,
there
this
was
was
there was
was
a
it-
racing driver, Jim Clark.
Simon,
Yeah.
how do you spell Simon backwards?
No, miss.
I'm just checking.
How many tests did Lofty Nell play, and who did he make his debut against?
Who's
Well,
asking that question?
It says here South Africa. Who's South African rugby, son?
I think it's the official South African rugby Twitter account. Bok Rugby. Yeah, it is. They're asking it.
Are they asking that of us or of the
Of you.
Of us.
Yes.
Lofty Nell, I would guess, played about 8 test matches. And I reckon he made his debut, trying to think, 1963 against the Wallabies. 1960. In 1963, oh, that's another lovely trick question. They played 3 test matches, and only one Springbok forward played in all the tests. I think they played 4, might have played 4 test matches.
What year?
1963.
Against Aussie. Arthur
Against
Smith.
Aussie.
Who was the captain?
Arthur Smith was captain of the British
You're
Lions.
close, I'm getting there. Okay, who was
Close.
captain of the 63 Wallabies?
John Thornett. John Thornett, 63. 69, Greg Davis. Right?
Yeah, against.
You
I
played against them.
Yeah.
Yeah, 63
you're
was
right,
John
Hugh.
Thornett. One Springbok played in all the tests, and that was one Springbok forward. That was Tommy Bedford. The first test, A.B. Malone was the captain. Second test, for Avram Malone was the captain. Might have been vice versa. Then, how's this? I mean, we talk about Springbok selectors. Then A.B. was the captain. Then they chucked both out. I mean, you know, it was... And Tommy Bedford was the only Springbok forward who played in all 4 tests.
Please refresh my memory. How did we fare? Did we beat them in that series?
Yeah, we did, but, it might have been a draw. I know we lost the test at Ellis Park. They played Norman Riley at fly half. He played his one and only test match.
That's right, I remember that.
And
Wow.
so I would say Lofty played, I would guess, we can look it up on the website. I would guess that Lofty played about 8 tests. And I would guess that he made, I know he had quite a long career. He made his test debut in 63 against the Wallabies. Look up G. Ensland for me, please, Si. Got him busy. I think maybe while we're looking up G. Ensland, we will have a little music. Can't stop this thing we started. Brian Adams.
Yeah.
I like Brian Adams singing that theme tune to Robin Hood.
All
Ha!
right.
Which 2 Springboks were in the movie Robin Hood with Kevin Costner? Do you know?
I think I do, yeah.
I
Yeah.
beg your pardon, say that again?
2 Springboks were playing in France, and they decided they read an advert in the paper for extras for Robin Hood, and they went along, and they obviously you don't have to audition to be an extra, but they went along and they were extras in the movie Robin Hood, which I think was the best Robin Hood movie I've seen. Kevin Costner, and who
favourite.
was the Maid Marian? She was terrific. Okay, Lofty Nell played, I said 11 tests, made his debut in 1963. I said 8 tests.
No, he made his debut in 1960.
And I said he made his, wrong, made his debut in he played 11 tests. And he made his debut in 1960,
Yeah.
the 25th of June. Now, funnily enough, that 25th of June 1960 was the first live test match I ever saw.
really?
Scrum half, Dick Lockyer. Fly half, Keith Oxley. Inside centre,
When
Ian
Wallace-
Kirkpatrick.
Oh,
Outside centre, John Gainsford. Left wing, Henny van Zyl. Right winging, Mike Antelm. Mike Antelm,
oh
you
wait,
know,
that
in the
was
good
under
old
60,
days.
that was
And
All
the
Blacks.
fullback, Lionel Wilson. No.
All
Yeah,
All Blacks
it
were
was
here.
Lionel, yes.
In 60.
Yes.
I played curtain raiser.
Did you?
Under 19, yeah.
Henny van Zyl scored 2 tries
Yes,
that day.
Yes, gosh,
It
I
was the
remember.
first game I ever watched, first test I ever watched live.
I'll never forget in the change room, we were the main curtain raiser. And after the game, yes, you stand there at the door and watch the teams come out. And I can recall the All Blacks were just full of Vaseline because of the hard grounds here.
Yeah.
And they were massive, and I thought, God, imagine playing against those giants.
Oh.
And eventually I did.
Yeah, well, incredible.
Just full
Yeah.
of Vaseline because of the hard grounds.
Well, I can remember we used to, you pick up a grass burn in April, you still had it in September.
Yeah.
Because the practices also, practices. Lofty-Nell played in 14 tests.
Sorry, I made a
They
mistake.
played 11 tests.
Oh, Lofty, yeah.
Yeah.
I made a mistake. It was the Warriors lock who ran into George Smith. Blaze, he couldn't stand on his feet. He was knocked out. And you know those rubbery legs.
Yeah.
And this is the game today, and it's just, I don't know, it freaked me out a little bit.
Did Smith play for the Brumbies?
George, yeah.
You sure?
Yeah, you
'Cause-
see, you always question me, and I'm not sure, but it looked like him.
Blades and Sid, would you two ever consider to be coaches? And if yes, who would you like to coach? I would, if I wouldn't mind coaching. I mean, would have liked coaching in the old days when I was a little bit more mobile. But
Well-
I would like to coach Toulon because they pay about 50,000 million euros a month.
I don't mind being your assistant coach on that one. Definitely.
We
But
did coach
Blades
Sydney,
and I,
but
yeah, I
we
was just gonna say.
coached the little ones for about 13 years. I ran a clinic and Sydney came and helped me. Don Clark was there. Mickey Gerber was the original driving force.
Murray Mexted got involved afterwards, didn't he? Well, he had a different
Very
clinic.
little. Tutty
Yeah.
Farber, who's a great
Kaufman.
legend. In fact, we had a coaching staff there coaching the little guys. We started with about 10 guys, ended up with about 100 guys. And every one of our coaches had played
Provincial.
at least provincial rugby
And I'll never
every
forget,
Saturday morning.
I took my son Gary there, and, Uncle Huey said to him, geez, you just after the ball all the time, you play flank. And from that day on, Gary did not move. He played flank or he occasionally 8-man. And he tried one game wing. He said, Dad, please run up and down the touchline and tell me what to do. Of which I did.
Well,
And-
Gary did Craven weak flank, I might tell
Yeah,
you.
see,
Sydney
that-
seems to think it's my fault that he didn't play
Wing.
wing for South Africa.
I don't seem to think. I know. Yeah, no, not for this. But he had talent. But afterwards he came to me and says, Dad, that's it. No more wing. I'm going back to flank or 8-man. Eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose if you have played flank, wing's a pretty corny position.
But you nail on the head there, Blades, where you said
I
wing,
I
flank.
didn't expect him to play flank his whole life. You know, I said just come here as an 8-year-old and play flank, so you know what's going on here amongst the forwards, which I think is a great sort of breeding ground, and also a skrik for niks.
Yeah, he wasn't.
Yeah, and so I mean, my opinion was, come and find out what's going on, and then by the time you're 14, you'll probably be playing on the wing. But he decided that he didn't want to do that.
Coaches. Yeah, I wish I was also mobile, but no, I don't think I'd coach. I guess I've had my little stint with Huey, as Huey said, at the Wondrous Clinics. And that was it. Yeah.
There was a guy there who wore a T-shirt with Crocodile Farm across it. Now you've got 100 kids, and so I knew a lot of the kids, but this guy, in order to identify him, I used to call him Crocodile Farm. And about 9 years later, I was walking downtown, and when the 6'6" guy came up to me and said, "Hello, Mr. Bladen. You don't remember me, do you?" Then I looked up at him and I said, "No, I'm sorry, I don't." He said, "I'm Crocodile Farm." That was brilliant. So, yeah, Lofty Knoll, 1960.
Yeah, I
And
remember
then he
because when
played
he came in the 70s.
So he played Test rugby. He only played 11 Tests, but he played Test rugby for 10 years.
Yeah, you see, Tommy Bedford came in also as 8th man, but Lofty there played flank, as you saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what, I think...
And he was a big bugger, and he was, when he came into the Test match as 8th man, he took LB Bates's place, yeah.
Yeah.
And LB was a big guy, but Lofty was just also very good at the back of the line out there.
He also, you were talking about the fact that, in the second test, what happened, and I'm telling my granny how to suck eggs here, but what happened was in the first test in 1970, against the odds, South Africa beat the All Blacks in the first test in Pretoria. City scoring the City try. Maybe just for fun we'll play that try in again, because Simon seems to be able to get that try ad nauseum. And we'll play that try in again. I love it. And the second test, Sydney, now you can take us through the second test.
That was, I regard, and so did Alex Wiley, who was a dirty player, as the worst test match that I'd ever experienced and that he had ever experienced, because I had I wouldn't say privilege, but Alex Wiley came out here and I met him at the Wanderers Long Bar, and we discussed that, and he said no, never would he like his son, who was playing rugby at the time, to be involved in a test match like that. And
it was brutal.
It was brutal. And they could see they were out to sort of really, really hurt us. And they knocked 6 of my teeth out. They cut Davy de Villiers' ear, 9 stitches, Piston van Wyk, I don't know if you can remember.
Yeah.
12 stitches. And, Piet Grayling was raped to pieces.
Well,
and,
were the All Blacks unharmed?
To an extent, yeah. I think I met in the medical room, the doctor's room, where I went afterwards, but they couldn't do anything because my teeth were out. And what's the guy who married Sutherland? I sort of
Alan Sutherland.
Alan Sutherland. But nothing was not serious.
So your teeth were knocked out. Fergie McCormack, a definite dirty tackle. What happened was Sid hacked the ball ahead. McCormack turned around and let fly with his elbow, and Sydney ran straight into his elbow.
Well,
teeth scattered all over the Newlands.
Yeah, well, Ian McCullum had one, and the medics had one, and we went looking for it after the test. We found my two.
You found them on the field?
Well, no, the medics had them.
Ah.
Yeah, and then a dentist came into the change room. He said, "I can transplant your teeth. I can put them back." And eventually I went for it, and I had them for 4.5 years. And then my body rejected it.
You won't believe it. That incident just cost Sid thousands
thousands.
Dental fees. Okay, now we go. No, not yet, Si. Don't get too excited. Third, because we're building up to Lofty Knoll. Third test, the Springboks decide they're going to sort McCormack out.
That second test, the worst thing was that we lost at 9-8.
Yeah.
And in the last sort of couple of minutes, Manikis went offsides. We watched it several times, when in those days, if you were in an offside position and you took 5 steps, you
forward.
You were onside again.
Yeah.
And we watched it several times, and Manikis, to us, actually put himself onside before he tackled whoever it was, and right in front of the post, and McCormick put the kick over to make it 9-8.
Yeah. So now I say the third test, this is where Lofty Knoll comes in. You're going to sort McCormack out.
Well, it was mentioned in the team talk, which I'd never heard, that we've got to sort something out here, because it's ridiculous what's going on. He says, I'm not going to mention names, but you all know who it is. And that was our coach. And we did know who it was. And to an extent, he was. I mean, in the first couple of minutes, I think, I put an up and under up, which happened, I put a cross kick, tried, and it became, I think, the greatest up and under. And I can still see McCormick waiting for that ball, and Hannes Maria, after the after-match function in Cape Town, after the second test, promised, and don't worry, he was sort McCormick, don't worry, and he was there, and they hit McCormick, but he was so strong, that he got up.
McCormick, he was a rough bugger.
Oh gosh, he was, and he really, I mean, you would tackle him, and then he would kick you in the chest with his studs.
Oh.
And I had a few words with him in the Transvaal game, where Bobby Grace scored, and and
I played.
I think it was a bit of a knock on, but
Bobby knocked on.
I think
Never.
Somebody knocked on, and McCormick wasn't happy with it, and he picked the ball up after Bobby had scored and kicked it into the crowd. And that's we had our first words there.
Yeah.
But he eventually got the better of the whole altercation, whatever you want
No,
to call
so
it.
now the third test.
Yes.
They decide they're going to kick an up and under on him. This is when
Well,
Lofty Nell comes in.
Yeah, but it wasn't decided an up and under. It's just, big, guys. I don't think I can repeat on air what was actually said. But
We're going to sort out
yeah, they've got to
McCormick.
sort out, because it's nonsense what he's doing and being so dirty. And he was sorted out, and he never played another game after that.
Huh.
Even the midweek games. But Lofty, now McCormick hit me again. Now I've got clipped in a plastic teeth guard or tooth guard.
Oh.
And then on top of that a rubber. I think I started
Mouth guards.
guards. I really do, because
Gum guards.
Gum guards. No one used to wear them.
Yeah.
And I had this plastic one, so the back teeth took the impact. Then I had a rubber one to protect the plastic one. And I was walking, but I played the third test. And then McCormick hit me again. And I hit him. I was on my toes. I got pictures of me standing on and hitting him. And it was like water of a duck's back. I mean, it had no effect. And Lofty came and once
Hit him.
McCormick went down.
Yeah.
That was the end of McCormick. I think that first tackle in the first 4 minutes really hurt him.
Yeah.
And as I say, he was so strong. He got up and played. And then, a few times they tackled him again, and Ian Monblay led, and that was Fergie at the bottom of the loose.
Didn't the ref come to you after the game or something?
Yeah, the ref was
Pete.
Pete Robertson. I don't know if I can say this.
Why not? You don't have to swear.
And I'm not going to swear, but I mean, you're going to say, well, the refs are biased. But he did, you asked me, he said, did I give you enough time?
To
because
sort McCormick out.
Yeah, because even the refs weren't fond of him. But, there was no red cards or yellow cards in those days. He could have killed me and I wouldn't have kicked him.
And there were no referees' assistants. You had touch judges.
Yeah.
Very often the touch judge would be a member of the team not playing in the test.
Correct.
On the touring side, and then a South African touch judge, a local guy would be the touch judge for the
referee.
Springboks, or normally a referee.
Yes.
Remember Barney Rogoff?
Big time.
Barney Rogoff used to be a touch judge. Simon, Barney Rogoff was a touch judge for provincial games at Ellis Park in a suit with a rose in his lapel running the touch.
And
how's that?
he
And
was
the
the
other
best
guys, you remember
dressed,
the overseas guys used to wear their tour blazer and a cravat.
Yeah.
A cravat. We used to say the guys, when they say Lani, they put their cravat on when they go to the toilet.
Gosh, Blaze, I remember Barney. He was Glasgow Paints, wasn't he? He was a big boy.
Was he?
Glasgow.
Barney
Yeah, but
Barney
he was immaculate,
Yeah.
In the after-match functions, well, the old glass house, you all used to go up there afterwards.
For the dance.
And there was Uncle Barney, but dressed immaculate.
Always.
Yeah.
Let's listen to this. Listen to this. 1970, first test match.
Spot hier na binnekant toe en is Tiny net lang met die bal voor by voete. Hy skop hom tot die binnekant die kwart gebied en is Fergie McCormick aan die bal vat staan by van onderste bo aan die bal spot uit aan die oorkant van die veld en die skeieregter het reeds 'n straf skop toegeken aan die All Blacks. In tree by die kant van die kwart gebied. Dat skop hier going laat loop na Cottrell lig hier vir Lahore. Lahore die gaan erop vasloop en mis het nou met hulle skep die bal. En op terug Sadi en hy terugkom. En skep nou my skep en langs die paal.
Now people out there, we got a picture of this, and there's Brian Williams, and Brian Williams, to me, was the greatest winger I ever marked.
Check those thighs.
I mean,
it was
he
difficult
invited
to
me into
tackle.
the Samoan, when I came out here for the World Cup,
Yeah.
into their team room, and every one of the Samoans had thighs like that. Like,
Oh, I know that.
Yeah.
They're massive.
It must be a gene that they've got. But huge, eh? Yeah, but he was a great player. And I became friends with him. We had one of the most wonderful days at my house. He said, "You got a guitar?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Bring." And he played the guitar. You were
Yeah, I was there.
You were there.
Yeah.
Mm.
We went and fetched him.
Yes. Yeah.
And so now, hold on, let's go to these tweets, because these guys are listening and they're tweeting us. And Paul Norris says Kobus Wiese was one. You're quite right. Kobus Wiese was one. Mind you, Kobus is a big fella. Maybe he played both parts. Nice one, Paul. There was another guy. Thanks, Braden. Said there is this. I want to know. I went to support Brackpan Club Rugby, the third team, and they broke out a fight, and the game, both teams involved, and almost a fight with the ref and supporters. Brackpan lost, and then Brackpan had a serious neck injury, and the ref never stopped the game. What would you say to help club rugby to stop that?
Wow. Oh, Duncan, I just want to interject
Yeah.
here, sorry. Because Duncan and I went to watch Wanderers play Diggers on Saturday. And same thing, it became very ugly in the end. There was one Diggers guy who was just looking for trouble all the time. And, they haven't got really qualified ARs. One guy, Andre, from a Wanderers, one guy didn't pick up
ARs, assistant referees.
referee. And Andre could not give a decision to the referee because he wasn't a registered AR.
Yeah.
And he was, I think, a Wanderers guy. But right on the touchline, I mean, this number 5 was looking for trouble all the time, and they sorted him out in a way. They had to, because they had to defend themselves. But this is a point I want to bring up, where the referees are not doing their job. And
But you know, when you say the referees are not doing their job, the referees are volunteers, guys who go along and are assigned rugby matches and that sort of thing.
at that level.
And at third team level.
Yeah, yes.
I mean, the first time I saw Jonathan Kaplan referee a game, he was still at school, when he refereed a fourth team game, Kempton Park against Wanderers, and within 10 minutes, two of the guys, one guy from Kempton Park and one guy from Wanderers, were in the cooler. They used to have the cooler, you stand behind the posts.
Yeah.
Jonathan Kaplan took no rubbish from anybody, and right from an early age he stamped his authority on the game. Now it's very difficult for the referees, and if you don't get spectator support and you don't get player support, and the game is not played in the correct spirit, Duncan, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get guys rorting and not playing the game in the right spirit. I mean, the spirit of rugby and the spirit of sport is that you learn to treat with triumph and disaster with equal humility.
Yeah, that's the first thing
Okay.
we used to teach the youngsters at Wanderers Clinic.
Sportsmanship.
Yeah.
So handling, tackling, continuity, and
You've
sportsmanship.
got to learn to lose. I mean, it's
And
not
if you
nice.
don't, well, I mean, the other thing is you can't learn to just sort of say, well, if I don't like something on a rugby field, I'm going to start hitting.
But when you retire and you get to my age, you're allowed to do things. You're allowed to shout at the referees and all. But
Well, I mean, Andre Watson told us these atrocious stories of schoolboy games where the referees' tires have been slashed.
yeah,
I mean,
I've heard
to
that,
me, that is absolutely appalling. And how can this sort of be stopped in club rugby It's got to be the strength of the chairman. It's got to be the strength of the committee. It's got to be the strength of the coaches. And then the players. You've got to instill in the players a pride in your behaviour on the rugby field, and a pride in your behaviour off the rugby field. And if it's an indictment on the human race if you resort to fisticuffs before you can control yourself and listen to the referee. It's an indictment on the human race.
Nowadays, the two teams used to get together after a game and have a few cups of coffee.
A sing-song?
A sing-song, yes. Now, I went up to the clubhouse afterwards at the Wanderers.
Yeah.
And, the guys, they don't even shower anymore. They come up there and they, we used to shower.
You're kidding me?
Yeah, gosh, it's a whole new vibe today, Blaze. And I'm just stretching.
You mean they just played and went home?
Well, now some of them, I saw one or two Diggers players come up.
Yeah.
I think it was just to get a collie. I don't know if the rest was still in this, because I didn't stay too long.
The Sable Room, the old Sable Room at the Wanderers.
But that created
Had
a
a vibe.
camaraderie, yes.
Well, camaraderie only, because everybody used to come up to the Sable Room, opponents included, your under-20s, when I joined Wanderers, we had 8 open teams. So everybody came up and everybody used to go and watch. The climax of the Saturday afternoon was the first 15 playing.
Yes.
Unfortunately, now, one of the things is that every single Saturday there is provincial or super rugby. Remember with the days when we would play like 8, 9 game provincial games maximum, and when we had a provincial game there would be a bye.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, there wouldn't be the other added attractions of guys rushing off and saying, I'm going to go and watch the Sharks play the Bulls on telly and that type of thing.
Yeah.
You would all congregate and have a piss up.
Lazy, going back to that Diggers team. If I was there's no ways that I'd want to go and play rugby again. Apparently, Wits gave them 100. Another team also gave them 100. That's so demoralizing.
Oh, must be.
Oh,
yeah.
gosh. Would you want to go back next week and get hammered and just tackle all afternoon? No. They must go down to a lesser league. And, that's my thinking. Wanderers, they were doubtful whether they were going to put Wanderers up this season. They are, and they're in the middle of the league, and they're doing quite
Are
nice.
they? They're doing nicely.
Not bad at all.
Well, it's the old open club syndrome. Open clubs really do battle. The varsities are Varsity Cup, and the varsities are strong. Even in the league and that type of thing.
UJ beat Wanderers, and
but Wanderers sort of gave a reasonable account to themselves against UJ.
Yeah, not bad at all.
They didn't get 100 points against them.
Oh, and one thing, I don't know if you noticed, but King Edwards drew with Monash, eh?
King Edwards lost to Maritzburg
Maritzburg.
College.
I watched that.
Now where are our guys here tweeting about Maritzburg College? It was embarrassing for me because Joel Stransky and I was sitting in the commentary box, and Maritzburg were giving Kess a hiding, and Joel was mocking me like you cannot believe. With that, we'll have some black music.
Sam, how would he mock you? Joel?
Black music as in mood.
What? Sung by black people?
No, man. There's a black mood.
Right, here it is.
Okay.
I'd mock him like this, Blades. Your school is playing absolute shite out there.
That's how I'd mock him.
I love it.
Again.
I'm getting him on the line now.
Kess, why have you taken my tweets off? There we go. Kess. Pride in your behaviour on and off the rugby field should be instilled. Oh, you quite well. That's what I'm saying. Right from the early ages of this, and it comes down to your club chairman, to your coaches, and particularly to your school coaches. And I've seen some school coaches over the years behave appallingly.
Oh, very much.
I remember once watching Gary Nomas play. We're trying to get John Mitchell on the line.
John speaking.
John Mitchell. It's Hugh Bladen. You're live on Balls Radio.
Hello, Mick. Sydney
G'day,
is
Hugh, how
here.
you going?
And Sydney,
Gee,
Sydney is with me
G'day,
here.
Sid, that's trouble, eh?
Yeah.
That's trouble you being in the studio.
The Micks, the terrible twins. Yeah.
It's just lucky it's so early on a Monday morning, John. We can't get into too much trouble. we just have had a few guys tweeting us and saying a pretty boring weekend of rugby, and the Reds Stormers game pretty boring. I was down in Durban, and I know that you've been doing some great studio work.
Yes. Yeah.
Great stuff. And
Thank you.
Well, your take on what I would like to do, what you to do for us, John, is in your vast experience, analyze the Crusaders Chiefs game as opposed to the Sharks Bulls game.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, the Chiefs and the Crusaders are two sides that go to probably find attacking space better than any other side in the other sides in the competition. They look to set a teammate early into space, and if in doubt, then they will carry. Whereas I think probably in many ways the South African side will tend to basically think about carry first before serving a teammate in space. Maybe the Cheetahs are a side that is somewhere near the same sort of philosophy as the Chiefs and the Crusaders.
Would you say, having experienced South African rugby for a little time now, would you say that this is a schoolboy trait, that we tend to play a far more conservative game? Because it looks to me sometimes like, and I don't want to answer my own question, like the guys are shit scared to lose.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have an ambitious mindset, and that means you've got to be ambitious to attack space, and I think it really comes down to transferring a skill and decision making pre-contact. And I think possibly, as our junior coaches, and maybe Sarah's got a responsibility here as governing body to look at maybe developing some of the fundamentals that are essential to making that decision. We're dealing with experienced players now that have got a well-trained behaviour, and it's very hard to detrain that if you've constantly gone to contact. You notice also that the Chiefs and the Crusaders, and to a lesser extent the Cheetahs, tend to go to the side of the body or side of the defender when they carry, so they're not very big on
instead of taking them
square
on
into the
front
chest or
on.
being
Yeah.
frontal.
Yeah. John, now the Reds Stormers game, I didn't see an awful lot of that because we were preparing for our game, but we've also been tweeted that was a pretty boring game. And now, and the Reds are known for flair. I mean, the likes of Ioane, the likes of Cooper, and that apparently was also a pretty boring affair.
See, the Reds are, they seem to be an enigma. They've certainly got very similar personnel to their successful reign when they won Super Rugby. But a lot's generated off Guinea and Big Ioane is a sort of that kind of winger. That left winger tends to come off 9 a lot. They don't seem to get to the ball to the edges, but do a huge amount of work off 9 with forward carry and backs coming off close. And Quade Cooper is very, very prominent in terms of putting the ball back inside, but you see less of the ball getting to the edge, which is probably a concern for me, considering how much possession that they have and how much they control for long periods of time.
The other thing that worries me a little bit is that the Stormers have been brilliant on defence, and yet do you think that, in my opinion, they're a little lacking in terms of creativity around the 9-10 situation?
Yeah, I think 9 and 10 has been an issue for them. That hasn't brought stability. You've got a slowness in 9's pass, and then you've got probably a lack of confidence and a lack of belief at 10. You've got Azveja, who's very much a stable 10, but not a huge attacking threat. And then you've got Elton, who's obviously gone through some personal trauma, had to relocate to a new province, adjust to different teammates and different style of rugby. So he's still very much settling in. But for my mind, the experience that exists within the Stormers forward pack, I'd certainly like to see that forward pack come off 9 and do a lot more work off the ball, a lot more of the unseen things, and come in numbers at the defensive line to allow a very talented back line to reload and get outside of our defence.
John, I know that you are contracted, if that's the right word, to Kingswood and to St John's in terms of coaching their coaches how to coach. Are you finding them receptive to your input?
Well, it's a fantastic opportunity to impart knowledge. I'm obviously in that station life at the moment, so it's no need for me to keep it all protected in my head. It's important to pass it on.
Great.
But I guess the thing that I'm coming across the most is the maybe the willingness, but the lack of self-awareness to be able to teach the fundamentals of actually pushing a pass through with the hands as opposed to running or passing a spiral, attacking the side of a body, finding ways to create a quicker clean or keeping the ball alive and keeping the ball moving. I think they're probably key fundamentals to continuity, and when pressure comes on from a defence, a lot of these fundamentals are exposed, and I think there has to be a constant diet in a schoolboys rugby week. Even though you've only got 2.5 sessions a week, there still has to be a constant diet of fundamentals before you go to the big team stuff.
Mitch, Sid, yeah. I just want to ask your opinion, your feeling. I mean, just never mind the plan, but TMO, do you think the referees are relying too much on the TMO?
Sorry, Sid, can you just repeat that again, please?
The TMO, the television match official.
Yes.
Do you think the referees on field and the ARs and whatever are relying too much on the TMO ref? I mean, every try that's scored, they're asking for a replay from the TMO.
Wasn't it quite refreshing to see Craig Joubert against Cheetahs Reds when I think he went upstairs 6 times and he was kind of embarrassed in many ways of asking the TMO for another decision.
Yeah.
I think possibly we actually have to change our mindset and stop focusing at times and blaming or asking questions of the referee in the middle, because in actual fact now they're a referee panel, they're a referee group. And you're dead right, I think the referee ultimately doesn't make a lot of those decisions. He's actually influenced by the feedback that he receives from the panel, whether that be assistant referee or TMO.
Yeah, and to me, I don't know, it's just getting a bit too much now. They're relying too much on the ref and every try that's scored.
I think they're trying to sell a bit more popcorn, aren't they?
Yeah.
Or becoming like gridiron, huh?
Definitely. I mean, gridiron, you see the way they run into each other, the players. I mean, they're not tackling, they just impact, crash ball, bang. I mean, they're hitting each other so hard these days, it's frightening.
John, where are you flying to?
I'm flying to Port Elizabeth.
Okay.
And then driving to Grahamstown,
Driving to Grahamstown to Kingswood. The great Benny Osler, great Benny Osler went to Kingswood.
I've got the under 7s at 3 o'clock.
I love it. The under 7s. I think that's absolutely fabulous, because obviously that's where it begins. And that is where, Carlos Spencer, funnily enough, took his youngster to Pirates, to their clinic, and he was appalled to see that the guys were having full-on tackling. And he said there were little fellas there who'd rather be sucking their thumbs than flattening some guy. And what's your opinion on that?
Also, I mean, there's ways and means to develop or progress the contact, and I think the first thing is, if you're talking about defence for a youngster, is learning how to get your feet in close first without actually putting any shoulder contact on, because that ultimately is the key behaviour that's required in order to create power in your tackle, and then just lightly deal with the finishing of the tackle, left and right shoulder, and left and right of the head, and so that the boys get confidence in that finishing as such. But again, you don't need to smash into each other until you get to a certain age.
Definitely.
And until you've learned to handle, to catch and pass.
You're dead right. I mean, pushing a pass through with your hands first is the most important thing. And and the ability to quicken your hands up at an early age is probably the best thing, because ultimately your leg speed is the one that has to vary. That your hands can always remain quick if you're put in that position. And also teaching youngsters to run onto the ball, to me, is a key feature. And I think it's probably something that Sid and yourself can remember distinctly when you played. That was a key feature that your coaches would have taught you.
Well, they would, be running onto the ball, and also the fact of frankly, pass and back up and run into open spaces. Don't just follow the ball willy-nilly. Just look for open spaces and run off the ball. Hello? Have we lost you?
Hello?
Obviously, we've lost John.
You there, John?
Anyway, thanks to John. I think we better wind that up, side. Thanks to John Mitchell, and it's great to see that he is going out to the schools, and I know he's contracted by the schools, but a guy of that caliber, I mean, he coached the All Blacks for beating us in 2003 in the quarterfinal of the World Cup at Melbourne. I was there as well. Give us those tweets again, because there were one or two which I liked there about the Platteland. Rian. In most Platteland clubs, players still meet afterwards and watch the rugger together, etc. Mainly premium clubs, too serious. Yeah, it's great to hear that the Platteland guys get together after the game. And maybe the city slickers need to catch a wake up and, not just rush off with their friends to some other venue and bow a biggie gees. And
don't read that top one, please. Just not necessary. Couldn't agree with you more.
Gary Late couldn't agree with it more. The players scared to lose. Sharks relying on Lambie's boot all season.
Yeah,
well, that again, it's a coaching mindset, isn't it? It's a question of your coach saying, guys, go out there. I love, this whole Willie LaRue. It's great to see that Willie LaRue is in the Springboks training squad.
Yes.
Because Willie LaRue is, and I've sung his praises all season. He meanders around the field, pops up here, pops up there. Absolutely fabulous. We haven't got an awful lot of time left. Tendai am to Arera. Yanni du Plessis would be my pick in the front row. Cooney Westhuizen very, very close behind. If Bismarck du Plessis is not available, then Chili Ralapele may get the nod ahead of Adrian Strauss, who is a real contender for captain if somebody doesn't stand up. Eben Etzebeth and Joan Creer are probably the front runners for me at lock. I like Sia Khaleesi. And I like Arno Buerta. And I like, you've got to make a, interesting that Ryan Kankowski is there, not having played for a little while. Then, the big thing is that Francois Hougaard looks a little bit rusty. He's getting caught behind those rucks a little bit, caught behind the scrums a little bit. Jano for Mark.
Two scrum halves, eh?
Well, because, they've got so many. What about Cyril Pretorius?
He was top scorer last year. Oh, no, he played for... Who did he play
well,
for
Cyril is not even the first pick for the Cheetahs side. No. Pete van Zyl is, and that little Pete van Zyl can jawl, hey? I reckon Mornay Steyn has wrapped up the number 10 jersey.
No doubt.
Everybody says I'm a Mornay Steyn fan. I am a Patrick Lambie fan. See, somebody said Patrick Lambie could play for England because his grandfather, Nick Labuschagne,
is that his grandfather?
Nick Labuschagne played hooker for England and for the Sharks and was the president of Sharks. He, funnily enough, was a Hilton boy. Went to school at the same time as my great late mate Roy McLean. And
I remember
Patrick Lambie was head boy of Michael House. And I also saw on the program on Saturday that he was captain of the first 11 cricket, playing fly half. All great fly halves are good cricketers.
and King Edwards, huh?
And now we've got Brian Habana on the left wing, Luazim Vovo I like Raymond Rule as well.
Yeah.
I think Brian is going to. Will Jan Serfontein ease out Jean de Villiers?
No, he can't.
He can't.
No.
So Jean de Villiers is going to be your captain along with Jean de Jong, and on the right wing, we have got to have.
Hang on, I heard something.
Gio Aplon. Nah, that's not a Stormers bias, is it, Simon? He's Stormers mad.
Who's the captain of the Sevens? Frankie
Horn.
Frankie
no,
Horn.
no.
No, he's
Carl
injured,
Brown.
And I heard some. Is it? I don't know. I might be wrong, but that Jean de Jong was going to join the Sevens squad.
Jean de Jong is going
Well, he
to.
was part of the Sevens squad.
No, I haven't heard anything like that. We've got to go back because we're nearing the end of our time. And Paul Pierre Willem Sa Quibus Visa Body Swat, which 2 Springboks were in Robin Hood. I'm going to give it to you. It was Dion Westhuizen. Quibus and Dion Westhuizen were playing rugby in France and decided that they would go and earn an extra couple of euros.
Right.
No, euros.
When were they playing?
10 years ago.
Okay, euros.
Voulez-vous no, voulez-vous meng met mij? I had a lovely situation. I've got to tell you guys this. Before and I won't tell you how we got there, but before the World Cup final in 2007, we were at the press conference where Jake White and John Smith were up at the front. 400 press guys packed into this room. There were 19 television cameras. It was a massive media show for the announcement of the Springbok side to play in the World Cup final. They announced them. There was Dan Retief, John van Rensburg, and myself, each with a cameraman. And we, because we South Africa Supersport are SA Rugby's biggest client, we sort of got slight preference in terms of the interviews and that sort of thing. So we each manned with a cameraman, and I interviewed John Smith, and I interviewed Juan Smith, and I interviewed Donnie Rousseau, and I interviewed Brian Habana. And after the sort of thing was that we would ask a question and then put our microphone into the guy's face, which most interviewers do, and then there would be like 20 cameras around them. Microphones around my microphone, the one I was holding, because everybody wanted to get an opinion from these guys. And I finished off each interview and I got quite sort of emotional about it. Each interview by saying, you're not only a credit to the Springbok badge, but you're a credit to your country. And as I said that to Brian Habana, he spontaneously jumped forward and hugged me. And the guy, there was a French guy there who was a bit taken aback by this, and he sort of said to me, so who are you? So I have about 50 words of French, but I can't put them into a sentence. So I said, well, j'ai l'équipe de télévision, coupe de monde, Afrique du Sud, the commentaire. When you run out of words, you puff your lips and you blow. So you go,
Jeez, you sound good to me there, Blaze.
Anyway, the guy then said to me, I then remembered that the French word for school is collège, or somewhere close.
Colleague. Colleague.
Are you sure?
I think so.
Colleague. So anyway, I said, Brian, moi, Sam, colleague. It's funny how you speak, when you speak to a Frenchman, you speak with a French accent, or what you think is a French accent, don't you? I mean, I'm sure they don't speak to us with what they think is an English accent. They speak English.
Unless Marais didn't speak to them with a French accent at all.
Who are you? He said, I interview you. I said, where? Pas de problème. So he gets his cameraman and then he says to me, Qu'est-ce que c'est your name? So I know that Hugh, if you say Hugh, I mean, the guy's got no clue. So in France, it's Hugh. In Argentina, it's Hugo. So I say to the guy, Hugh. And then I started giggling as I said, Hugh Bladin. So he looked at me as if I'd lost my marbles, you see. So I'm now saying Hugh. So I say, you come on, Hugh Hefner. And the guy still looks at me all blank, if he knew he wasn't going to own up. So I'm racking my brains, and then I said, Hugh Grant. He said, oh, where? I said, yeah, where? Hugh Grant. He said, oh, Monsieur Grant, pleased to meet you. Daisy's arrived. Sydney, so now what's your pick? I've picked those guys.
I'm very close with you.
Who's your fullback?
Can I have that team up again, please, Sam? You see, they'll stick with Zane Kirshner, but to me,
Zane Kirshner hasn't played.
I know.
We play a test match in 2 weeks' time.
So it's got to be Willie LaRue. Would he be?
What about where's the Stormers guy? He's not even in the squad.
I don't believe it.
Joe Peterson. He's not even in the squad. There's a little Philip for St. John's, Dimitri Kachakilis in the backs there.
But I don't. He's there just for experience. I don't think he can get into the
No,
final.
No, I don't think so.
But,
Blades, if you could see the future of the Sharks with John Smith now as CEO, what kind of changes would you like to see him make? I can tell you that I think John Smith's going to walk into a bit of a hornet's nest, because he is in a situation where it appears that some of those senior players are not that happy. I believe John Plumtree has had his contract renewed, and John Smith could, rugby administration is not an easy thing. It's a very, very difficult thing. You've got to keep everybody happy all of the time. He's going to walk in there. He's got Rudolf Stroili, who was his coach, he's now Rudolf Stroili's boss.
But there are other apparently big businessmen who are going to assist him. I mean,
they're going to assist him, but eventually, he's going to be cast out on his own to take over as chief executive officer of the setup.
Full back.
No, well, I mean, Frankly, Zane Kirshner will probably get the nod. Willie LaRue, I think Hanneke Meyer has kowtowed to public pressure, because Willie LaRue has become one of the darling players of South African rugby.
Back before.
Gio Aplon, I
loved him. He counter-attacks all the time. He doesn't give possession away, and I like that.
Yeah, it's good that some of the guys are putting their hands up. JJ Engelbrecht also has started playing far better in that outside centre position. Big question, Francois Hougaard, Jano Vermaak.
Oh, that's they're going to go Francois.
A little, I don't know.
They're going to go
Can we have a look at our final tweets, Sam? Because I think there might be one or two we haven't. The thing about Willie is that Naka gives him the freedom to play like that. He wouldn't get that freedom in any other South African team. Well, I think you're right. I think, that is one of the strengths of Free State rugby over the years. And haven't the Cheetahs done well this season?
Brilliant, and they're not finished. What is Blitzbokker? Oh, sorry. Someone's shouting at me again. Sorry, Simon.
That's fine.
What's that about Blitzbokker, Blades? Love it when
Blade speaks of we.
Love it when Blade speaks foreign.
Foreign,
oui.
The thing about Willie is, thanks Ryan Miller for your tweet. Pierre Willems, no, it was Dion Wursthuizen. Kobus is right. I only know this because I've toured with Kobus on 5, 6, 7 occasions, and he told me about the fun they had whilst being extras on the Kevin Costner Robin Hood show, a movie which I thought was fabulous. Who was the lady who played in it?
I'm going to look it up now. And I'm telling you now, it was not telling you now, it was early 90s.
Can you talk into the mic, please?
1991. So it would have been francs and not euros.
91. Are you sure?
Well, there it is.
Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Kevin Costner. Where's
Yeah.
Kevin Costner?
There.
And
Morgan Freeman.
and Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio. She was great.
And Christian-
Mastrantonio.
And also Christian
What a
Slater.
name. Who's Christian Slater?
He's an actor.
He's an actor.
I know that, but I mean,
why are you
what
asking?
else has he done?
You also played for the All Blacks.
He played for. I thought you were going to say he played for Paris Saint-Germain or something like
That's
that.
Christian Cullen.
Christian Robin Hood. Guys, thanks for. Are we going to wind it up? Thank you for listening. Thanks always, Sydney, for being here. Thanks to John Mitchell for talking to us. I wanted to say to John Mitchell, because he's going to Kingswood Prep, go and say hi to Bev Brans for me.
One more question.
Oh, no. Where's Gary?
Gary's in
Gary
Switzerland.
Nomus is in Zurich and
Hi,
he's
Gary.
watching.
We promised we'd say hello, Gary.
Yeah, hi,
Love
Gary.
you listening, but. And
Fantastic.
I just want to ask Blades one question. I mean, the Bulls, why are they always so good, Blades? Is that because of the youngsters coming up? They've always got replacements. And, is it the money that gets them? Is it?
I think there are two factors over the years. I think they were very well organised under Heineke Meyer. I think Heineke Meyer has handed over well to Franz Ludiker. Because they won the Super Rugby 3, they got tremendous gates. They became a bit of a financial powerhouse.
Well, because of the game.
They
the
have
finals.
bought a lot of young players. I think in many ways they've overbought to the detriment of South African rugby. And if you're running the Bulls, one can't fully blame them. Because, you look at, they come under criticism for signing a whole lot of players. But what does happen is Man United go out and they will sign a Wayne Rooney or they'll sign a Cristiano Ronaldo. Why? Because they've got the dosh.
Well, this is it.
And they can afford to do that. The Benficas of the world.
Man City was a money team.
The Inter Milan, sides like Juventus, backed by the whole Fiat Corporation, and the Real Madrid, backed by huge cash. They are more powerful than, let's say, some guy who wants to go and manage Aston Villa. And so the Bulls they've bought wisely. I think they've built up. The other thing is that they've built up a very, very strong, tight forward platform. They're very strong up front, although they got scrummed to pieces on Saturday. But remember, Ntuarira and Duplessis were in the front row, and Kyle Cooper, I might tell you, were in the front row for the Sharks, and then they scrummed really well against a relatively inexperienced Bulls front row. But they have had that business of building from the bottom up.
Yeah, definitely. That's my thinking.
Have we got to wind up? Have we got to wind up? Well, thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody, for your tweets. And I hope we haven't left anybody out. And until next Monday, let's have an unbelievable week.
I'll go along with that. Cheers.
That was the Blades on Balls show. Join the voice of South African rugby on your wireless next Monday for more unbelievable memories and banter. Until then, stay classy, like 20-year-old Glenn Morangi classy.